Tech guru Elon Musk was on his social media platform X this week saying the following, quote, "As I mentioned several years ago, it increasingly appears that humanity is a biological bootloader for digital superintelligence." I had to look up bootloader to see what he meant. Turns out it's a line or two of computer code, a little computer program, if you will, that triggers something much more complicated, like a computer operating system. Without the bootloader, the operating system can't get up and running. So, Musk is saying that we puny humans, murderous chimps, the lot of us, are no more than a crude trigger to enable something much bigger and better to happen. We've been placeholders, according to Musk and his ilk, ready now to clear the way and hold the coats of artificial intelligence. I'm not saying he's wrong. He's way, way smarter than me, obviously. But I remain puzzled, really, as to why we're doing this AI thing at all. I can see what's in it for the machines, but what's in it for us? What's in it for the machines, but what's in it for us? I look on at people who keep lions and bears as pets in their homes and gardens with some of the same incomprehension. I mean, lions and bears are fab and presumably great fun to have around the swimming pool, unless and until the day comes when they eat you, which they might, because there's nothing you might do to stop them. So why take the chance? Maybe that's just me. Musk is in no doubt that superintelligence will shortly outstrip us in ways and to a degree that we knuckle-dragging humans cannot even imagine, far less compete with. In a long chat with Alibaba founder Jack Ma, Musk considered the extent to which computers long ago learned to be infinitely better than any human will ever be at games like chess and Go. Quote, "Trying to play a computer at Go is like trying to fight Zeus," he said. "It's not going to work. Hopeless. We are hopeless. Hopelessly inadequate. Basically, there's just a smaller and smaller corner of intellectual pursuits that humans are better than computers. Every year it gets smaller and smaller, and soon we'll be far, far surpassed in every single way. Guaranteed. Or civilization will end. Those are the two possibilities." End quote. I have no reason to imagine I could take on Musk in this argument, but I would point out that even by his own estimate, he is somewhere on the autistic spectrum, a state of being that makes relating to fellow humans, well, let's say challenging. His relations with his many baby mamas, as they call them in the US, and at the last count, his 13 offspring, suggest he may not be in a position to relate compassionately to most of us when it comes to the business of being a regular human being. News also came this week that Musk would be stepping back from his role as head of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. The White House, only a month after predicting Musk was here to stay, now say it's time for him to get back to minding his own business, or businesses, so to speak. Insiders claim, however, that in recent weeks, Musk has finally revealed himself as too, quote, unpredictable and, quote, unmanageable, maybe even, quote, a political liability. With tech, he's the master, but when it comes to understanding messy biological humans, well, maybe he's not so good.
Us blokes hate talk.
But for me, it all comes down to something simple enough for our limited biological muck and muscle crowd to grasp. Which is to say, are we simply finished with being human? Should we be glad to see the surpassing, the putting out to pasture of the original, the Mark I Homo sapiens? I for one have a nagging doubt that even after 7 million years of evolution, we've barely begun properly to perceive, far less comprehend, our biological human potential. I get Musk's point, I get it, that computers, machines, technology have us well and truly beaten when it comes to all the things computers, machines and tech can do. I was beaten at maths and arithmetic by the humble calculator 50 years ago. I long ago accepted that and many other realities. But as a wise man said, if human brains were simple enough for us to understand, we'd be rendered too stupid to understand them. I firmly believe that within, or otherwise connected to our flesh and bone, is a spark of the infinite. Maybe it's in our soft brains, vulnerable beneath thin caps of bone, or perhaps, as biologist Rupert Sheldrake has suggested, each one of us is connected to the consciousness of every other of our kind by some or other field, some self-organising region of influence, like a magnetic field or an electrical field. What I'm asking is, are we sure we've reached the limit of our biological potential? In any event, it seems to me there are so many questions we still haven't even asked about our biological selves, and that perhaps we should before we take our bow and walk off into the wings, making way for the cyborgs. Goodbye carbon and hello silica. In the 1960s, when it was NASA rather than Musk and SpaceX chest-puffing about space exploration, a rocket science was asked by a journalist why, when the Mercury and Apollo missions would be controlled by the men in mission control, why men were being put in the capsules at all. What was the point? What did humans add to the capsules? Spam in a can, they called them. To which the man in the white coat replied, "Man is the only self-programming computer that can be mass-produced by unskilled labour." But that was then, and this is now, and according to Musk, our sort really are finally redundant. Musk predicts that his Neuralink, connecting humans to technology, will make education redundant. Quote, "I mean, down the road with a Neuralink, you can just upload any subject instantly. So it'll be like the Matrix. You want to fly a helicopter? No problem. Well, helicopters will fly themselves, but you know, if you want it to do whatever, any given skill, you just upload it instantly." End quote. I accept this, but this has always been the fantasy, as demonstrated by sci-fi and superhero fiction. I'm old enough to remember The $6 Million Man, about former astronaut Steve Austin, almost killed in an accident and rebuilt as a fusion of human and tech. As the intro to each episode had it, Steve Austin, a man barely alive. Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. We have the capability to build the world's first bionic man. Steve Austin will be that man. We can make him better than he was before. Better, stronger, faster. And then there's the comic book superheroes, transformed by some or other accidental or deliberate intervention. My problem with all of it is my unshakable certainty we won't all get the chance to be super or bionic. Not by a long chalk. Whatever advantage is cooked up by fusing humans with superintelligence or whatever, it will be available.
Get 3 houses.
It will be available only to the same old club. Those with the money and the family connections will be super, right enough, while you and me are left in the dust to be stamped on by super rich super geeks. Musk says we'll be going to Mars as well, but the same doubt applies there too, as far as I'm concerned. The rich will get seats on the spaceship, while the lumpen billions of us are left behind as usual. Maybe humankind has had its day. Maybe it's time for the rise of the machines, as we learned in the Terminator movie franchise. Surely, though, it's ineffably sad that while the future is so bright for artificial intelligence, for artificial life, human life has seldom been so cheap. While we've apparently learned so much about making machines smarter and better, we have simultaneously learned nothing from the horror history of our own behaviour, even that within living memory. We evidently have not learned that genocide is a bad idea. We've not learned either that war never determines who's right, only who's left. The estimated death toll in Ukraine is now around 1.8 million souls, the sort of numbers we've not heard since the end of the Second World War. You can tell there's a shortage of living bodies. And let's not forget that birth rates and fertility levels around the world have fallen through the floor, making replacement hard enough, so that same Elon Musk can point out that the greatest threat to our species is not overpopulation, but population collapse. The United Nations Agency for Children says that at least 322 children are reported to have been killed since Israel ended the ceasefire and got stuck into the Palestinians of Gaza once more. UNICEF said at least 609 children were reportedly wounded during the same period. AP reported 15 Palestinian paramedics and rescue workers, including at least one United Nations employee, were killed by Israeli forces one by one and buried in a mass grave 8 days ago in southern Gaza. On the 13th of February, unlucky for some right enough, 70 Christians were found beheaded in a church in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the horror committed by suspected militants from the Allied Democratic Forces, that's the ADF, with proven ties to ISIS. All around the world, here in the West as well, human beings, including children and babies, are trafficked on an industrial scale. They're kept and used as slaves, used for sex, and then their organs are harvested from their ruined bodies, so that human beings are for sale whole and alive, or broken up and sold for parts. I do wonder what the going rate is for a human being by now. If you buy one, do you get one free? So another question I would ask is, before we pay any more attention to better machines, shouldn't we endeavour to value the lives of our own species? Admittedly imperfect human beings, everyone. In the race to unleash artificial intelligence, have we already left behind not just human beings, but humanity itself?